Yeah.
Good afternoon, good morning, good evening, wherever you might be in the world. Tells me I've been live for 3 minutes and 51 seconds, and it's fibbing. I know that because I just hit live. Well, what a. Yeah. Anyway, there we are. So here I am from the land of no power, not because of the government pulling the plug for a change, but because we've had consistent. Oh, hello. I'm echoing. Why am I echoing? Why am I echoing? Oh, hello. I'm echoing.
It's okay. It's me. Sorry.
It's not me, it's you.
It's me. Sorry. Apologies.
Yeah. Well, that's good. That's good. We've had steady 50 knot winds here, which is really unusual. Well, and hello, Simon. And it's knocked our infrastructure for 6. So for a long way, long way. In fact, my eldest son flew in today from the UK, and that's all grand and lovely. But these aircraft actually had to divert to Durban, to miles away, and you had to get on a bus and all those other sorts of things with his girlfriend. So it's been that sort of a day here. It was that windy. But there we are, and the school, and here we've only lost a bit of guttering, but at school, our neighbours down the road completely lost the roof of their stables. We lost the roofs of part of our stables. All sorts of chaos has ensued, and it's been fun. But the wind has dropped now, so late again. He said,
Has drone delivery been has it been reliable in your community during this experience?
So it absolutely would not happen, nor would AAM. There's absolutely not a hope in Hades any of that would be happening in the weather that we've had. Yeah, it is a bit nuts. And partly what happens here is, I've said it before, is that on the mountains behind me here, going up to about 12,000 feet, there's snow. Down in Durban, it's 27 today, so the cold air, and it's only about probably 100 kilometers in a straight line. So when it gets going, the cold air just rushes down to the seaside, and yeah, you regional travel has. What's this? Is it cold there as well now? It's Radio Master cold.
Yeah, it is. It's getting cooler. I've had to put my my winter shorts on.
What's defined as cold in these worlds? Like, what does that mean?
Are you talking Kelvin
not
or
like you.
Celsius?
I don't speak freedom units.
We had I think it was a 7-degree frost the other day, and today it's pretty warm actually because there's a tropical airflow coming in. It's about 11 this morning.
Yeah, it was 10 on the weekend for us, and it's summertime. So
yeah, but that's much warmer 10 because it's Canada, eh?
It's a Canadian.
Was it 10 plus tariffs or
10 tariffs? Yeah, that's right. It's just exactly how much are you tariffed on that 10? Here it's well, on Sunday it was 28. It was 28 on Sunday, and on Monday it was snowing, and today it's warmed up a bit. It's been about 10 most of the day, and not in freedom units either. So we have a huge range here on the weather around the world. We have a huge range of temperatures here. Huge. When of course the other Stephen in Finland there. I mean, he also has he has the same nuts temperatures as you. But are you probably about the same place on the globe and the uppy downy spheres?
About that, yeah. But we're now into kind of summertime now, so we're getting into the warm period. It's almost midsummer. Midsummer in 2 weeks time here is a big thing for us here. It's a huge holiday here.
Do you have much heat drifting up from below? With all that conflict going on.
But we do have some heat coming up.
Yeah, and hello to everybody in the comments. And I don't know how long I'm going to be here for because my internet's, which is probably a good thing, my internet's is coming down. It's downhill, which is a positive thing. But the tower that's operating it is on a diesel generator, and it's Russian roulette. Oh, we shouldn't say that anymore, should we? But it's a random act as to when it runs out of diesel. So, so who knows?
Celsius or Vodacom? Who is it?
Oh, no, it's a private tower. It's actually the bloke that owns Celsius, so it's a private LTE tower.
Okay.
And people are going to say, why is it not full of huge batteries so it can run through several nights? Well, the reason is they get stolen. They actually encase the whole bottom of the towers now in concrete. So once they're in, they're in.
Diesel's not stolen. Surely diesel would be a
because the generator's about 1.5 kilometers away, locked in some friend of mine's shed.
Yeah.
So it's down the hill. It's at the bottom of the hill. So that 1.5 K is going down the hill. But yeah, they'll top it up in the morning. But I wouldn't blame them for not going. I wouldn't go out there.
Have you noticed since we started using drones a lot, the weather's got worse? Like in the last decade.
Well, that's only from my previous life as a balloon driver. It's one of those similar things that the wind always picks up around 6 o'clock in the evening, and that's because the dogs are fed and all the tails are wagging. It's that similar sort of phenomenon.
Correlation and causation, eh?
Mm. Yeah, exactly. Very, very similar thing. Right. Anyway, enough of this nonsense. We managed to talk nonsense for an unspecified amount of time because we must talk about. Somebody here might know about this. I don't know. We must talk about this first. So benchmark for industrial drones. That seems to be a very mighty claim, young man. What makes this the benchmark for industrial drones?
You're missing a word.
What?
Compliance.
What word?
Industrial drone compliance.
Oh, okay. What does that mean?
Basically, at this point, actually, the industry, when we go away from like type cert, DVR, when we go off the shelf, commercial public safety user who's just trying to get going, most countries have adopted either SOAR or modified SOAR. Like in Canada, we use a modified version. We have since 2019. And so basically, we're now seeing pretty common trends on if you want to fly over people, you want to fly in enhanced containment, so air risk mitigation. Basically, if you use third-party ASTM standard, you pretty much have got a clear path for this size of drone. If you're a smaller drone, you probably want to do some crash test dummy testing as well to get some injury data. But ultimately, parachute for the M400, which is out today in case anyone was not paying attention. And at this point, yeah, there's actually a pretty predictable regulatory environment on if you want to fly over people at this point. So that would be where I would say for compliance and benchmark is go do ASTM F3322, which is drop the drone out of the sky 49 times and pass it. And have your product and get to market. It's really affordable, really, really cheap to do the testing. In case someone's going to ask me why this parachute's not $100.
Why is this parachute not $100? Yeah,
I was going to ask that.
Yeah, I was too. Yeah. He's pulled the rug from underneath us. No, well, congratulations on that. That's really cool, and we'll circle.
Well, yeah, a couple things for like this is.
Just a quick question: how long have you been testing this for?
So this was going to be my full disclosure. We're not done third-party testing yet. This is part of the product launch. We're going to be doing it later this summer. We'll actually start shipping Q4, and these are all the regulatory pieces. At this point, we've done 8 ASTM, so we've got a pretty predictable pathway. We've got 3 this month on other drones. So, anyways, we got to see this a couple weeks ago. Went down, did some fit tests, did some checks, and made sure. It's a pretty cool aircraft. Like as far as like, if we want to go on to some of the things that I think is interesting, it's like 40-kilometer range. You've got a $10,000 price point minus the payload, obviously. You've got 7 PSDK, so like you can load this up. You could have a speaker, spotlight, blah 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 blah. And what's really cool though is if you zoom in, is that LiDAR and that integration, and that's where I think the DJI magic is happening at scale. Is where they've been in the automotive game for a while, and they're taking that supply chain, that scale, and putting it in. The battery is also really cool. It actually, anyone who knows the M300, it slides out, but on this one, it actually pulls from the front, and it's only one. 59-minute flight time. So yeah, pretty cool aircraft. It's a bigger upgrade. I think it's 6 kg of payload versus the 2.7 on the M300. And like, if you're an M350 user and you're only using the H30, or you're a police department, you want to use a spotlight with it, and you put on the parachute, like you still have like 2 or 3 kilograms of empty weight, which is like, you don't need to load it up. You just get better flight time, right? So I think that's where And again, the price point, like I was expecting it to be like 20 grand, but then I saw it today and I was like, oh, wow. Welcome to
So
Skyland.
So it's the same price as the M350.
I don't know. I thought M350s were $13.99, but maybe that's Canadian. Yeah.
I've got two here. So they were, oh God, they were almost 15K.
I'm checking on their website right now. So the M350 costs for the combo, $10,470 worry-free basic combo. So that's crazy, and that's the thing that like I think from an ecosystem, it's like holy crap. It's like you just came up with the exact same system. Well, not exact same, an upgrade to your previous system, and it's at the same price. So like anyone who's sitting on M350s, they're obviously they'll use them until they no longer are useful. But people who are upgrading, like, are they really going to buy any more M350s? Like maybe, but like
no. I think I think one of the good aspects here is that if you have the intelligent battery pack, well, I've not actually seen it yet for the 400, but I assume there's room for 6, which means you have got 6 batteries rather than this where sorry here you have got there's room for 8, but it's only really for 4 flights, because you're using two. So I would imagine that this is either that this has got 8 and you've got room for 8 flights.
I don't know if that's the case. Let me just double check.
I haven't seen one. I don't know.
The charger was like similar to the Flycart charger. And I'm just going to go in their user manual just to check. Because that was the one thing, like this is a hefty, the thing is the M350 battery is a hefty piece in itself. So you're looking at something with definitely, like, it's not like you can bring those on the plane, you got to ship them around. But here, Gary, I just sent you over a link.
Simon's saying the charger's 3 batteries. So there's 3 in the intelligent charger. That's not a lot.
Yeah. So then, what's that? 6? That's 3 hours of flight time.
3 hours of flight time.
But I think the recharge time on these batteries is pretty impressive. I think that is something that, if I don't remember what that is, but can you recharge quickly? I don't remember that one on what the recharge time is. Let's see here. Sensing, camera, video, battery, battery heating. Yeah, it doesn't have recharge timeline. I don't think. I'm not seeing it. Yeah, they have that's it. They do have a fast. So you can get to, in 45 minutes, you can charge on fast mode. So
one in the air and 2 charging.
Yeah, and so you go do your hour flight, you charge, hour flight, you charge. So like you're actually in a pretty good cycle right there. And I did notice when they're doing fast charging, it was louder, like the fans were working more. But it like
I bet they were.
The silent charging is 110 minutes.
That's what our guys do. That's what we do. So our guys, we've got I've got three pairs of batteries for the M350, and our guys can do wind turbines. So they can do one wind turbine. Then when they land, they'll actually start to charge it, and then they'll go again. And then by the time they've done the third flight, the first lot's charged again. So so they can they can use a 3-pack all day. So
yeah, so it's the same system then, isn't it? Really, it's exactly the same. Do you let those batteries cool down before you start that charging?
That's a good question. Because that was something in their old user manuals where please let the batteries sit for X amount of time before using them. Usage, let's see what it says. Let's lift the battery, each battery. Yeah, because like, do you have to cool it? Because that's a good point. When the temperature is below 5 degrees, it would automatically. I don't see anything.
Because you think straight out of the air and then straight onto a charger. You wouldn't have been intuitively. I wouldn't have thought that was good for them. I don't know what you'd think about that sort of thing, Bruce, but I don't know. I reckon that's be a bit off.
Yeah.
And with the parachute on the back there, so it's going to be. Is it nose down when it smacks the ground?
No, yellow. The yellow lid is what pops off.
Yeah, but then what attitude is the aircraft when it hits the ground? Is it going straight into the sensor?
So that's where we can do rigging. So right now, that's the debate on how you do the rigging. So you can play with the lines. Like there's going to be an attachment to another part of the drone so that the lines can come out, and you can change based on the line rigging what attitude and what you actually want. Yeah. So the goal is obviously not to break the camera, but then there's trade-offs. So like, you could shoot from below, you could attach it underneath and shoot below, but then third-party testing would be hell. And then just you want to try to land on the legs. But yeah, so we'll make it so that we'll try to land towards the end. So that's just like shoot the parachute outwards and then have it go up. Normally we've been attaching to the top, but because that LiDAR, we couldn't. So there's some restrictions on where you can actually attach to.
So you see this being a very DJI. Look at the pricing of the flight cart. They're being nothing if not aggressive with their pricing. We are not going to see. First of all, what should we do? Well, let's jump to this. Unleashing the American drone dominance. I hope. I know our dear viewers will get to what I was going to with this. Your browser's lost connection to the screen share. Can you see that? Can you see Maravin?
Yes, we can.
Yeah. Okay. So this was this drone dominance. This executive order in America, and I've thought about it again and again. And I suppose what I wanted to say about it was,
Is that Norma Jean Baker?
That's Norma Jean Baker, exactly.
Oh, I recognise
exactly. It might be the last time that was considered when they started to have any dominance, and I expected lots of complaints about using that image, but I only had a couple. I was very disappointed with the complaintage. I like it when
both readers complained.
Both readers, 100%. That's right. 100% of readers complained. But I don't think there's a hope in Hades that American companies are going to get a machine like that out for $10,000 next year just because there's an order for it.
They don't have to, because the tariffs will mean that machine will actually be worth $50,000.
True. Well, that's true. But the part that caught my eye with the order is I was finally going to start disrupting the ITAR system, which has stopped American companies exporting, which on the face of it sounds great, but this is their direct competition.
No, there's
this is value for money. This is value for you're getting if you're coming from the 300 range, we only have a P1 actually, because that's how we do it at the moment, is actually inspections. But if I were to go for the 400, I still have the payload, so I don't have to go and upgrade. I still have the lenses, so it's not like you have to go for the complete whole system again. This is value for money, and you're getting a lot in there for that. You're getting a lot of money. You're getting a lot of mileage out of that, which is really impressive. And as Simon was saying in the chat there's this nice feature called boat mode on there, which is really cool. The boat mode thing, I think it's really underrated, but I think it's a really good feature, which I think people will find will be actually quite handy.
Yeah, it's got. I know with a lot of like boat operations, you've got worried about like the landing, but also all the interference. So that was an interesting one. I think the one thing though, Gary, going back to your comment about the American announcement and whether they can't compete against the M400. However, that is, I think, a commercial and a private business perspective. I think when you start looking at the big dollar corporate, or you look at government, whether that's actual government agencies like federal departments or like police departments, the political pressures that are being bestowed upon them and the misinformation is, what was it? No one got fired for purchasing IBM. Today, I think they can get fired for purchasing DJI, which doesn't make sense, but it does if you think of like the economic uncertainty and fears and propaganda and some more propaganda. But I think the issue though is when we look at this platform and what else is out there, no one's going to cut their teeth versus this within the price 100%. But we're seeing, even in our government, we're seeing in other European governments where they're like, I love DJI. I want to use DJI. However, I've got one guy who's adopted this blue UAS list and I can't convince him until he's retired. I've got political pressures from someone who's been lobbied by certain companies or organizations. And basically there's an acknowledgement that, hey, we don't have drones. A drone is a good first step. So we'll go spend the $100,000 on the expensive one or $200,000 or whatever it may be. And it is what it is. And I think the consequence will be if they're brand new to the game, they're going to go in naive and not know. And, based on their experience, they might stop their program, but they'll pick it up again. But there's also the element of, the amount of people who hands are tied. And I think that's where long-term will it work? I don't know. I don't think it worked for Harley when they did that to the Japanese with Yamaha. But, I think there's a reality for the next 2 years, 3 years. And, my big fear is, are the propagandists, are the lobbyists going to show up and try to convince other governments? Now, I think if this was 6 months ago, Americans would have cleaned up. I think they would have come and just taken shop on so many European, Canadian, Australian clients because of the rhetoric and the fears. But I think now, I know our government's being like, shit, we were going to go that direction and we're not anymore. So Trump's messaging has Canada's resonated very strongly, right? We get threatened once a month at this point. And I think that's where our government just announced we're going to actually hit 2% NATO. We weren't supposed to. We're going to do it this year. They're dropping billions. And you can tell that there's some American companies trying to set up shop, but not actually have real people and Canadians. And they're getting called out. People are trying to import. They're trying to import and relabel. They're getting called out. So I think America's timing is bad. If they would have timed this 6 months earlier, I think you would have gotten an American wave of drones. But I think now it's people are saying, wait, if I'm not going to use the company that is sending all the data back to China, why would I use a company that's going to send all the data back to America? Let's just do this internally. Let's build our own guardrails. Let's go spend that money. And those are the conversations I'm hearing a lot from government entities and people that are in the know. It seems that, America screwed up. Their timing's bad. I think. Obviously, there's a machine behind it. I noticed one company announcing a European office, an Australian company announcing another European office. All these companies are announcing it, but it's the questions that we're having with government is who owns the intellectual property? Because that is the ownership. Who owns the IP? What is the shareholder? What does the shareholder dynamics look like? Is it a 2% Canadian ownership, or is it a 50, 60? That matters. And what is your products and what are you making? And I think Western countries have gone really smart, really quick because they were forced off DJI. They were drinking the blue AS Kool-Aid, but now they're saying, I can't even trust you guys. Don't even bother coming and pitching because, and the thing is for me, I see it is there's these companies online bragging about DFR. I've seen thousands of flights. It's how the fuck did you get that data? And it's you're scared of DJI, and now you these companies are coming on, and it's just it's definitely something where, it's going to be very interesting, and I don't think the free for all American growth is going to be there. I think it's going to be I think we got 5 years of craziness of companies popping up with cash, disappearing, just chaotic. While DJI just keeps growing. Keeps doing their thing, just keeps making their money in the markets where they don't care.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I mean, I think at the end of the day, it means these US companies, if they can get them out easily, are genuinely going to have to compete in the open market. And there's plenty of other people other than DJI, especially in the fixed wing space, that are much better than anything a lot of things I see coming out of the US. So they're really going to struggle if they're going to. And if you're not doing DFR or government work, the market is tiny in America. Really, you do need the whole of the world to sell to. You won't make it on that alone. And DFR, that'll be gone in 5 years. People won't know what you're talking about.
What do you think replaces that?
I think larger platforms that are persistent. They'll fly for 4 or 5 hours.
Yeah,
and they'll sit orbiting town, and you won't have this idea of something. Okay, with this new thing with flying for an hour, that's a useful amount of time. If it's a drone in a box. But it's not 4 or 5 hours, and because of course we all know in the aviation game, it's not the flying around that hurts them; it's the takeoff and the landing. So the less takeoff and landings you're doing, the better you are. You don't want to be doing all those takeoff and just stay in the air, safer once you're there.
I think there's a couple of pieces on that though. There's certain communities, so we work with Chula Vista. They do not have a persistent surveillance program. They can only go on a call to service. Whereas, like, if you go to Beverly Hills, they're very cool with having drones flying all the time. So there's a bit of like the big brother element in city council. But I think you're right. Like, VTOL is where to go, especially rural, long distance, and that's where the regulations are going to be most free. I think though that like the companies in Europe, like a Quantum Systems or an Orca, like they're gonna eat some lunch out of the Americans if they're not careful. And, well, no, I think they are. Like they've got so much good experience now. And I think that the problem though is when this DJI ban at some point gets chipped away, I think the companies, like American companies, are just going to focus on the US market. They're not going to be able to service anyone else. They have all these ambitions, but it's like,
it's too small a market. It's too small.
Well, I'm not worried about the market. I'm worried about the people to assemble like you're not automating all this. Like you're not at the volume.
AI,
so
mate.
like,
AI. Robots.
Yeah.
Tesla robots.
Blockchain.
Yeah. Did you see they used was it Predators over LA? They had a couple of Predators circling over LA during the riots. Well, probably still.
Yeah, props off. We've heard of Teal Drones. That's a very Mare company. No, they're not Mare, but they're not ready to scale. None of them are ready to scale.
And of course, bland color.
Teal's one that, like, out of a lot of those American
better than Red Cat.
Well, Teal is Red Cat, right?
Yeah. Well, yeah.
But
they're still no. Yes, they are. But it's the.
Well, red doesn't show the blood, but teal is so bland.
What I meant to say then. What did I mean to say? I meant to say the drive behind Red Cat is wrong, and having the Trumpty Dumpty in there, that's it's just it's going to be the only choice, isn't it? Here, let's sign this order. And by the way, the only people that can really benefit from this is my son. It's gonna none of it's great, is it? None of it's earth shattering, really.
Who I think is going to be one of the winners is Parrot.
I hope so.
I think if you keep track, from what I've heard on the street at the shows and such, is that Parrot's new drone that comes, it's a quad, like small size, Mavic size, we'll say. I've been told only positive reviews from like defense people who are actually using it. And there's a lot of optimism that they're going to come in and eat a lot of American lunch.
Yeah. Well, they shot themselves, but they're French. And you being a Canadian should have a little bit of understanding of this. With that, do you remember the controller at the last one? I can't remember what it was called, but it was very glamorous, wasn't it? It looked like a makeup cake. Yeah, it's just that's the kind of unfortunately. Yeah, you need to make the
gold chain. Didn't have an extra. It had a gold chain. Was it really cool?
Exactly, and it's just gently rocks as you used it. But if you go to these markets, you've got to give somebody controls with extra rugged buttons and big switches that say have the word "kill" on the label or something like that. Even though they're only connected to the makeup drawer or something, that was a mistake. But it was a very capable machine, and all their machines have been right from all the way back to the AR. Was it AR? What was it? The AR drone, wasn't it? Not AR4. AR drone.
Louis would tell us. Louis knows it all.
Louis knows. Louis does know exactly. And they had the all the live streaming, all the stuff. They've been well ahead of the game before DJI.
And they can do
really
volume.
nice. Yeah, yeah.
The volume
Yeah.
piece. They don't have to. They've been doing volume. So, like, to me, I think Parrot, Quantum are definitely could walk into the States and take a lot of business.
If they're allowed to. You know, that's going to be the thing. Is it?
And Happy Model. Don't forget Happy Model.
No, never forget Happy Model. I must get one of those little things. The funniest things I have are my flipping son's got them. It's the little ones. I really enjoy
fly them inside
flying
now.
those
It's all
things.
winter down here, so good fun.
Yeah, no, it's
Just
good
put the
things.
lid
Now,
of the toilet down before you fly. I discovered that.
oh dear. Let's get
Dry it nicely.
Ian reminded me, and I did have it on the stack ready to go. But let's put it up here while we're going, and we'll come back to other things, I'm sure. Before I run out of internets, congratulations, Richard and Co. You've had your patent awarded for the Arrow Towers in America. Not quite sure what that means against the big competition they've got in the UTM world, but well done them. And don't worry, Richard, your secret's safe with us. He knows what we're talking about, and it's nothing as serious as you think. We had just have a little secret.
But
no.
The important thing with this is, I don't know if you know, the FAA is making a lot of noise, obviously, with the Trump administration sort of setting a path where they're accelerating now. They're wanting to have this. They've got this vision of this modern air traffic control, but the problem is America's just not had this understanding about. You need to be looking at the airspace, as Arrow does, without requiring everything to be conspicuous, because we know it's not. And there hasn't quite, and none of the people I see that post from the FAA seem to, and especially like your politicians, seem to grasp that basic understanding, which is really key, because that's the key to all the problems in New Jersey and New York, was the fact that, as Bruce has said as well, you can't find things that aren't there in the first place. So you have to have a system that's built from the principle of, we'll assume that everything in the airspace isn't being conspicuous, and it's our job to find it. You know, great if it is being conspicuous and tell them it's there, but we won't make that assumption. So it's better to have a view of, say, 90% of everything that's there, conspicuous or not, than it is to have 100% of conspicuous stuff. Because you know there's plenty of stuff out there that doesn't have a transponder on, isn't running, isn't being detected on rig because the range is so short, or it's just choosing not to be compliant because it's up to mischief. And until the FAA grasps that principle, they risk spending tons and tons and tons and tons and tons of money on this future airspace thing that ultimately leaves them with all the same problems they have got now. So
I think the biggest problem
that somebody understands what Altitude Angel do as well and thinks, let's give them a chance as well and see what they can do versus what's going on here, or at least think those principles are good. We're going to do our own thing anyway, but we'll adopt those principles.
The biggest problem Altitude Angel has is they're not compliant with the technology that the FAA is using. It doesn't run on Windows 95, and you can't use it with floppy disks.
Yeah, well,
95.
Yeah, they're running Windows 95 for the air traffic control system and the FAA's air traffic control system, and it's on floppy disks.
That sounds quite modern to me. I thought it'd be on MS-DOS.
Well, I think they broke their abacus, so they had to upgrade.
But it's no surprise though that what I've said in the UK they use ISDN backends for loads of things, and you can't get hold of an ISDN line anymore. There's all sorts of things, and the pipeline for NOTAMs runs via ISDN. And the trouble is that all these things are so risk adverse, all these safety things, that they don't want to change it, which is, I I partly get that. That's why the US submarines and the Predator fleet, in fact, we mentioned earlier, they went from I think it was 95, but they went to Linux to get around all these sort of issues.
I gather some
problems.
of those comms links are quite vulnerable because pigeons like breadcrumbs.
Yes.
Well, what about how are they doing this ATC update without Musk?
Well, don't talk to me about him. So our president went across there last week and a couple of weeks ago, and Mr. Trump was going to accelerate the adoption of Starlink here and let us have it here and all that sort of thing. And it was all going on. Ridge running on the ZX8 probably is Sparky, probably is running on the ZX81. It was going to do all that sort of thing. And then they had this little fight last week, and he just geo-locked South Africa altogether. You can see Lesotho. Lesotho's got it, and I can see Lesotho from here. It's just over my shoulder behind me. And there's a pub at the end of the road, and you could drive up to that pub, be in South Africa, but be in Lesotho, and reactivate your Starlink. No can do no more since last week. And it's quite.
Isn't it tragic? The world is being run by petulant children.
Mm.
But you can't. How can you run your systems if somebody can have the avarice to go off? Then you're stuffed, aren't you? You can't rely on things that somebody can go click. You can't do it.
To be honest, though, I think there's a lot of value in that as well. You know, people that will have an outburst and tell you what they think is kind of nicer than people that are very snidey. They've got,
Well, yeah.
They're keeping up buried and you don't know what's going on. At least you know what's going on in the head because they're going blip, blip all over social media. So at least you're in no doubt. So there is kind of a charm and reassurance to that. And I'm hoping Josh was being sarcastic there because I think there is a question about if Musk really is the genius some people think he is. I'll be careful what I say.
I know.
I'll tell you, he isn't. He isn't a genius at all. He's not a genius. He's been overrated for decades. I
think my X actually is limited because I used to have a lot of reads of all my posts. And then there was, I think, is it something O'Dowd? I think he is. There's some guy that has been flagging software issues with Tesla very noticeably. I think he even did like a TV campaign and all that lot. It's quite political. And I did retweet quite a few of his posts. And then after that, my reach seems to have limited. So, oh dear. But anyway, it is what it is.
Yeah. But you can't run systems. Now, I think my internet's about to fail because I just had a couple of big glitches. But before we go that, would you like to tell Ian, the dear viewer, or were we not going to tell the dear viewer what you had me doing last night? And you wasted so much of my time. And I was so tired.
I wouldn't say it was not a waste of time, and we might.
It wasn't a waste of time. But it was a bit of silly fun.
We might as well tell the dear viewer because the dear viewer has seen us do this on air before today. But in the past, we used Google Street View and went round. As it happens, at the time, it was Dublin Airport, and we were going, there's the D-Drone RF centres, blah blah blah, going all the way around. And then we even went, there's none around here. This looks like a blind spot. And Gary's there out with the thing. We look at the hill there. That's a blind spot for drones. And what do you know? A couple of months afterwards, we went to Street View, same place, and they started digging and putting in new RF sensors in the exact places we said there were gaps. So that was quite nice. But we decided to have a look round Lakenheath, given all the drama that's gone on there. And what do you know? In November of last year, when all this was kicking off, it just happened that the little Google man was in his car driving round and this capsule.
Thanks, Google.
Yeah.
Thanks very much.
The entire boundary of the base. So we had a look around and they have got shed loads of CCTV, just normal everyday CCTV. I say everyday, as in everyday commercial. So if there really was a drone there, for starters, someone should be saying, how have you got CCTV everywhere.
PTZ ones. There's fixed and PTZ. So
Not PTZ.
they've got a potentially massive, but a massive view of the sky all around the perimeter and quite far away from the tower as well. So, if you're reducing your zooming by putting the cameras right on the fence and not all on the tower, about, I don't know, 600 meters in, there's 600 meters worth of zoom straight away. So it's bewildering why they haven't created a nice sky picture from all those images.
Yeah, but even without that, you know what? If they're saying we are being harassed by this drone and all these blokes are seeing it, and not just blokes, maybe women as well. I don't want to be sexist, but if you're going to say all these people are seeing it, it's like, how have you not got video of it? It's very, very suspect that there really is something there if you haven't got it on video. But that aside, we didn't see any evidence of any RF sensors around the boundary and no EOIR, which we didn't think there was anyway. So it does look like, and we've had a look at the tower as well. They have got, and this seems to be a package across Europe, and I think it's a weakness in their entire counter drone approach. They're using a drone radar. So the one there's, I'm trying to think which brand it was, but I'll come back to me after. But they use a drone radar.
With an M?
But what's that?
Was it the one that begins with an M?
It was the one that's part of the Raphael drone dome. So it's their radar system that goes in with that, which I presumably you can get separate. So it has that, but it's on the control tower and it's pointed at an angle upwards. So basically, anything flying below the control tower is invisible to the radar. And then you go, what else have we got to find these drones? Oh, we've got DJI Aeroscope. They've got DJI Aeroscope. So it's like, oh, really? Oh, well, that means you're not seeing anything other than DJI drones. You're not even seeing all of those. So in essence, what appears to be the case is that the bases are less protected than Gatwick, Heathrow, and probably a load of other civilian installations. So it's not surprising if they've been in situations where they don't know drones are there or not. So that probably explains why they allegedly needed the AUKUS kit to be deployed to all the bases.
Yeah, it's an interesting. We could offer this as a service, couldn't we?
Yeah.
Is that no? That picture's not going to show. Oh well. But screening antennas is a bad idea. If you want them to actually see stuff, it's a really bad idea. And we did have
from
and if you put them indoors, it's a bit like where where they were keeping it indoors to keep it all safe. But there was one of those incidents, wasn't it?
Gatwick back in 2018 had the Aeroscope portable indoors, locked up in a storeroom. So
it's in a storeroom. Well, you wouldn't want to damage it, would you? Eddie? You want to keep it all neat and tidy and all that sort of a thing.
I bet they've still got the plastic on the seats in their company vehicles too.
Yeah, they haven't even peeled the yeah. Can a US base not in US airspace use the Aeroscope? Yeah, well, that is an interesting. Well, that is an interesting dilemma. Yes, it's a conundrum wrapped inside in the middle.
GDPR though, I guess
DJI in America
from that angle, is it?
What?
Well,
didn't they make an announcement that they weren't banning DJI?
Well, the announcement was about. Are you talking about the American Dining announcement?
Yeah.
It talks about so they stopped. They got away from data fear because maybe they realized they had problems. But it's now about supply chain resiliency. There's like a change in rhetoric. But they've brought forward that decision day. They've changed the rhetoric, but the decision day is now once it's 60 days from when he signed it. Or it could have been 90, but it just brings it forward a couple of months. At the end of the day,
we've got until the 30th, or America's got until the 31st of December to prove or disapprove the DJI case, and nobody, not one of the agencies, has come forward to support DJI. So at this time, I can't believe they'll 1 minute to midnight they'll have a little celebration. Look, we proved they're okay. Little poppers going DJI are cool and all that sort of thing. I can't believe they'll let it run that long.
No.
And here we are halfway through the year, and nobody's done anything. So
Skydio will stick up for them.
I don't know.
Skydio.
I thought I saw somewhere, again, there's too much content out right now, that somebody was stating that the language, like, I think AVSI is actually disappointed in the language, and I think there were statements about Trump being very pro-police, and that maybe somebody got into their ears. I don't know. This is
I think it's propaganda. I've seen all of that, and I think that's absolutely propaganda on behalf of those people that have got a very strong vested interest in DJI keeping going, and there's an awful lot of them. There's no objectivity with this one, and look, the data thing has been proved, and it wasn't proved by America. That's the important thing to remember. Whether it matters or not, that's a different thing. That's a different kettle of ball games altogether in what particular things, because of course all our devices, every single device we have, is leaking data one way or another. So it's
where
very.
you want it to go to, right? Like, the question now is,
Well,
who do
not
you
my
want your
mum,
data-
that's for sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. Anyway, that's
my
another
mum saw
thing
my-
altogether.
Yeah, she saw my MSN Messenger in 2002, and I got in trouble. So, yeah, I'm used
Yeah,
to that one.
exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
Right.
exactly.
But no, but that's the question: is who do you want to see that? And like, do we just all become like? I think if we look at the trends, though, don't forget, India already did this. Japan did this. America's doing this. I don't know if China did this. China's got a crazy market, but we've already seen these trends. This is just everyone saying, "Screw it, we need it." Like, we need this capability, this ability, and it doesn't get to a point where, yeah, you can't build a good drone as DJI. But like, if I'm a government, I'm thinking about mass. Like, okay, if I'm actually thinking of some sort of conflict, like Ukraine has shown, I need quantity over type cert aircraft. But how do you, like? Then the question is, do you get them reliant on you, right? Like, do you really want these companies being solely reliant on government contracts, or can they do both? And I don't.
Like SpaceX.
Yeah, I don't even know about that. I look at, like, I'm trying to think of some use cases. Like, it's I've heard comments, people say, if you start military, going commercial is nearly impossible. But if you start commercial, you can get into defense and you can play both. So yeah, it's definitely the new DJI RoboVac. I was wondering if that's going to get banned. Like, that's straight up Amazon.
I've heard, just between you and me, I've heard it sucks.
The new RoboVac, yeah.
But does it suck up the dog shit without bringing it everywhere?
But doesn't the other brand, what's the one? The one
We all know the one.
Yeah, the Amazon guys bought it.
Roomba. So that
Yes, that was caught doing that. That was caught doing that.
Yeah, but
Well,
it is also
sending the-
mapping in your house. It is also mapping, and it has the ability to get all that data, but it's still available. You can still buy it. It's not banned.
But it's
it?
because it's American data.
Yeah.
What
And
about
that's
all those
just-
outdoor mowers, those autonomous lawn mowers? They're the same sort of thing,
Yeah.
aren't they? They just map everything.
Yeah. Of course,
Those
then
have
when
blades on them. Those are dangerously autonomous
I
with
know.
blades.
Yeah, when coronal mass ejection hits, they just do your flower bed.
yeah.
Even
The,
RTK won't help.
There's the great savior there, of course, is, as Josh said right at the top of this thing, that those American ones will be using Freedom units, so they'll be thinking they're going into much bigger buildings if they're going into
The drones will
America.
crash into Mars instead of America because of the mismatch of units. That's what happened to me.
Exactly. Yeah, absolutely. Yes, it is.
Speaking of computers, here's something that you might be interested in. Remember the Cray 1 supercomputer from
Yes.
the 1970s? I looked at that. It weighed 10 tons. It cost, in today's money, $40 million. It had a speed of 160 megaflops, and it used 115 kilowatts of power. If you compare that to a Raspberry Pi 5, the Raspberry Pi 5 costs $120. It weighs 50 grams. It uses 12 watts of power, and it has 30 gigaflops of performance. Who would have thought we'd come so far in such a short time?
Well, and as the CAA in England says, thanks for RID, because you know you can run everything on that. You can run everything on that Raspberry Pi 5.
But you can't sit
it's-
on a Raspberry Pi comfortably. You could sit on a Cray.
Well, that's why you rebuild those. People rebuild them, don't they? Or they make
Yeah,
the copies of them to have that.
It's the kind of furniture you'd see in UFO, the TV series UFO.
Exactly. I would actually. I must admit, I would like one of those. But anyway, but you can buy a Pi case from, can't you? You can 3D print up a Pi case. That is one. Yeah. It's, well, homage to that sort of a thing. So I'll jump back to what Ian and I were looking at. It's claims of kit, claims of stuff, and if either of us lived near there, you would jump in the car. You'd probably get yourself arrested. But you'd jump in the car and have a good look with a long lens. There were plenty of places around the airfield that you could see all the way into the airfield from the public road. So
Couldn't you just fly a drone
suggest
over? Couldn't you use a drone
could
to get
just-
that information?
there's no drone flying signs every, I don't know, what would you say, 100 meters, less than that.
Yeah,
There's
so
all
you
the-
definitely can't get droning because the signs are there to stop it.
Oh yeah, auditors will fix it.
the
CCTV's for.
funny you should mention that. An auditor did fix a little tiny bit of the puzzle because he flew over one of the factories or units for a counter drone company, and he did provide us in that flight with a little bit of intelligence that was very useful. So it's interesting, isn't it? If you had to pick apart all the stuff, where are we going to find this information? Where are we going to find that information? A little bit here, a little bit there. It's all out there.
Don't you just do a FOIA and then they send it to you in a ring binder
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. I like this.
with a chocolate packet of chocolate biscuits and a little sachet of instant coffee to go with it?
Yeah, absolutely. I forgot to put the comments in the thing blast at the top of the thing.
Doesn't
It'll
go
go up
to
over
read
me
on
as
the side.
Stephen and I's head now. Yeah, it gets rid of me. Yeah, it's. Where was I trying to go with that? I was trying to go with that is it's the claims that are made for equipment being on site, which we saw at Gatwick when there was Israeli stuff that wasn't even in the UK at the time, physically wasn't in England, but it was portrayed as being the absolute winner. And look, it saved the day. He's gone. They've got him. It's holding truth to power, isn't it? We've got to work a lot harder on that sort of a thing these days. They're getting away with too much, and I can't help. I hope these new. Well, be careful what I say now. The current round of demonstrations in America, I hope they don't turn to our industry and tactics that have been used successfully elsewhere. I really hope they don't, because that will really put the cat amongst the pigeons. The Ukraine
drone war,
wouldn't take much, would it?
No, because it's available to both sides.
It is available to both sides. So we'll, yeah. I guess I shouldn't have put that out there, but yeah, you got to worry, and it would be a fantastic opportunity. This would be a great opportunity for a counter drone company to do something that fails. You know, look, it didn't blow up or whatever, but it at least gets close to whatever and run their own narrative. I mean, far be it from me to be quite so cynical that sort of thing might happen. But I worry, I do worry. Anyway, I'll stop worrying. No one else wants to worry with me because it's too tricky a topic. It is. Look at you all maintaining radio silence. You get. Oh dear. What else have we seen before my I can't believe we're still going. And yeah, what is the time? I can't believe I've been here that long, which is only unlucky for you, dear viewers. What else have we seen out in the world that's interesting this week?
Nothing. It's been very quiet.
Yeah. It has. The press release has slowed right up. There's some shows, Paris Air shows coming up. We'll hear some stuff at that. But and really, I don't think the reaction has been overwhelming to the president's whatever they call it thing
Executive
last
order.
week. Executive order, that's what they call it. It's not. It's been very okay, whatever.
I
That's
find
my
it
take.
interesting that the world's strongest democracy has a leader that can just sign documents and do things without consultation or without the support of his peers. It's like isn't that a dictatorship?
I was just going to say it's a dictatorship.
Yeah, exactly.
No, it would seem so. I do feel genuinely sorry for all our.
But definitions of democracy change. Like just like the definition of apple went from an apple to an apple. Like, are we just getting changes to wording? I'm screwing around and making comments. You're right, but like
The definitions
it's
of
like-
everything is changing
is-
these days. No one
is
knows.
you know, language is molded by culture and evolves over time. And 20 years ago, or
Just like
40 years ago,
cheese.
yeah, it's like, so maybe democracy is no longer democracy. Maybe it's something else.
I don't think democracy has been democracy for quite some time.
No, it's
Mm.
it's not. It's delegated authority.
Interesting times that we live in. Well, on that note, on that somber
On that
note.
famous Chinese curse.
On that somber note,
Yeah. Well, we'll depart.
If you're feeling excessively cheery, tune in next week to be depressed.
if we have more power, I'll get some guests on it. I didn't want to this week because as soon as we got the weather forecast, no, that's also not cheery. We had a horrible, terrible cruise flight accidents. 3 aircraft flew up from Durban ahead of this cold front to go to Newcastle, which is just up the road from here. One of them got in and they left Durban at 3 o'clock with sunset at 5 o'clock into a 55 knot headwind. They should never have done it. They'd all qualified, but there were new PPLs working, 3 in each aircraft working to their commercial pilot's license. One got into Ladysmith, not Newcastle, they were going in the dark. One turned round, was 55 knot tailwind, and tried to go back to the Virgin, ended up in a sugarcane field. They all survived, but totaled the aircraft. And the last one landed crashed sadly, just up the road here, and into a field just strewn with rocks. And the aircraft, when you look at it, is pretty intact, but just the force of the stopping stopped them, and it just shows how dangerous crude aviation can be. You've got to be careful.
It's also the thing that they didn't know enough to know that they didn't know enough.
They didn't know exactly. But they shouldn't. The grown-ups in the room should never have let them go.
Yeah.
They should never have let them go at 3 o'clock. They should never have. 2 hours to sunset. So you're not leaving yourself any. Okay, so
Wiggle
now
room.
it's just about.
Now
no
you're
wiggle
speaking
room
from
at all.
experience. See, this is the intelligence piece that they didn't know.
I don't know this intelligence. I think it's if you frighten yourself enough, you don't do it anymore. I don't add it to intelligence. I just add it to being frightened.
I think we've all had that moment where moment when you realise that that could have gone really badly, and you change your outlook a little.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. I got away with that, didn't I? Whoa!
Yeah.
But that's the potential for uncrewed aviation, isn't it? Is to reduce a little bit of the risk in operations, unless it falls on you. But it's kind of unlikely, isn't it? So that was very sad down here.
But hey,
And on that,
make parachutes for those things.
I don't think so. Let's not play.
no, I think you still would have dragged along the ground at a hell of a lick.
See, this is the wisdom I have from parachutes is there's a certain size where it's hell. Like you don't need to just getting them through product certified. Not even certified. It's like working. No, someone else can do it. Not me. No. Unless someone wants to pay way too much money. Doesn't make sense.
But it's better to be on the ground and wish you were in the air than to be in the air and wish you were on the ground.
And that very
Yeah,
even
also
works in
right.
the RPAS world, doesn't it? Very much,
Write that,
you know.
or just write that down.
Just write it down. Yeah. There are old pilots and the bold pilots, but there are no old bold pilots.
There we go. Now
Frank
we're
Spencer. Yeah.
And thus ends Philosophy Hour.
See, now we ended on a positive note. That's where we're at.
There we are. Thank goodness. I
Things
knew
could
we'd get
always
there
be
in the end.
worse. Yeah.
So, absolutely. Dear viewer, wherever you are in the world, look after yourselves. Be careful out there, and hopefully we'll have more elastic trickery. We'll come back with a guest or two next week. Be careful. We'll see you at 2100 Gin and Tonic next week. Cheers all. Take care of yourselves. Bye-bye. One click there.